it's still, in your view, a relatively stable market?
Okay, if you think about it, when we had the last property crash, which was 2009, 2010, that came about because a lot of people put their properties onto their market. You had interest rates at 6 or 7%. You had a little bit of unemployment because the credit crunch caused people to be made redundant, especially in the middle to upper middle class areas. So what happened is that everyone dumped their houses onto the market. And if you have excessive supply and poor demand, because remember the banks weren't lending that much at the moment, that time, because it was called the credit crunch, prices went down because the supply was too much to the demand. Now let's move on to where we are in 2022. We have interest rates at 0.5%. Employment is pretty good. As long as the banks don't curtail lending, and as long as inflation doesn't get excessive, then we should be okay. The only fly in the ointment that I can think of is, and this could actually be good news for middle-aged people, not necessarily old, but I believe there's an awful lot of older generation people who are living in homes, a retired couple, who are living in a 4 and 5 bedroom detached house. They really are loath to move. And I just think this could bring an awful lot of people who are retired, rattling around in big houses. It could actually force them, because they're on fixed incomes, to actually move their moving plans a bit more forward. So I think what we'll find is towards the end of 22 and possibly 23 is a lot more bigger houses will come onto the market. And that's good news, because there's plenty of people who are in 2 and 3 bedroom houses that want to move to 4 beds, but they're not coming on the market. So actually, the bad news for the older generation could actually be good news for the younger generation, because there's more houses come on the market. That, depending on how many come on the market, if a lot more come on, that could just curtail prices. Prices have gone up in Wrexham 12% in the last 12, 18 months. A lot of that is down to the fact is that there's been too many buyers and not enough sellers. And as long as the balance doesn't go completely the other way, like 2008, I think we might see property prices level. We might see a little slight drifting off, but nothing end of the world. And even if they did drop 10%, we're only going back to where we were in late 2020, and no one was complaining about those, Vaughan.
When you say there could be some levelling off, you're talking about a plateauing of prices, or do you think there will be a slight increase?
I find it fascinating that people judge the property market on property prices. If your 3-bedroom semi's gone up by 20 grand, the 3-bedroom detached has gone up by 40 grand. So actually, the rise in value of properties has actually done you more harm than good, because most people tend to move up market. The only people that tend to benefit from a rising market are executors and kids of people of families that have died, because they're selling at the top of the market and they're not buying on. A better bellwether of the property market is the number of transactions. Now, I think in 2021 we're going to see, probably when the figures come out, 1.5 million transactions. An average UK market is 1.1 million. Probably in 2022 we'll probably go back to a normal 1 million transactions. And property prices, again, I'm going to say they're almost irrelevant, but I know your viewers will want to know this. I think we'll for the first 2 quarters, we'll see a growth of probably 3 or 4 or 5%, and then they'll either level or probably drift off slightly, depending on the other factors we talked about earlier on. If I knew really what was going to happen, I wouldn't be sat here, would I?
No, no, you wouldn't, I guess. Chris, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Vaughan.